Hi guys, I want today to talk about audience growth on Facebook, and this is very specific to Facebook strategy. It's not the only strategy that can work, but this is one of the strategies in which you can attract people. And basically the approach here is that you send a lot of friend requests to people who fit your target audience vaguely. And based on that, then you can, with your content, you will attract the right people. So the right people out of these people that you're connecting will read your content. And this is literally attraction marketing at play, right? So you're building your audience, but you're building it in big numbers. So then, the right ones start going through your funnels, because as your content triggers them in a positive way, emotionally triggers them and grabs their attention, stops the scroll, they continue engaging with you, even if they don't engage as in liking and commenting on your post, because this is not really truly what is considered engagement. But if you're writing a long post, not wrong post, if you're writing a long post and they clicked on read more, that for Facebook is a form of engagement, because they actually took some sort of action. This is so important to understand and to keep in mind. Same with the video. And this is why you should do video, whether it's live video or you don't want to do lives, it's maybe pre-recorded video. It's okay. It doesn't really matter that much, because if it's good content and you are posting it on Facebook and somebody's playing, the moment they passed 3 seconds watching your video, that's already a type of engagement that Facebook will count. If you have a business page, you have seen that Facebook is tracking the links, the clicks, the clicks on read more. How many seconds did the person watch it? Was it just auto playing in their newsfeed, or did they actually click on watch or stayed on your video and watched a little bit longer? And so on our personal profiles, we don't have these statistics, but it doesn't mean that Facebook is not counting all these types of engagement, because this is how the algorithm then will decide who is those people in your audience, those other users who are showing interest in what you are doing, right? There's a couple of more ways to connect to people and to boost visibility. One of them, and the most effective one, is private messages. I find that if I connected to someone, say somebody I haven't spoken for a year reached out to me just recently and said, hey, Juliette, I'm coming to Tallinn, on this such and such date. Are you going to be there? And I swear I haven't seen their content at all for a while. It's not that I forgot about this person, but they were not in my world. And after that message, every post for the next 2 weeks, every post they posted, I saw. So Facebook was showing it to me, because private message is such a strong way of connecting. It's not even that I'm just like slightly interested in what you have to say. I'm actually talking to you privately. So think about that. And Messenger takes so much information. If you think about it, sometimes I'll mention something to my husband or daughter or a friend on Messenger, and then I see ads retargeting me as an interest, right? But we're not going to go into that. Every platform has its insidious side. And if we're focusing too much on that, or we're focusing too much on, for example, I'm not on Facebook because I'm not supporting Facebook as a company, or I'm not buying Apple products because, I'm not supporting them as a company. Here's my stance on this. I also don't support certain decisions in some companies, but at the end of the day, I have to run my business and actually bring food to my table for my family, and therefore, and the rest. And therefore, I'm going to use what makes this work better, rather than sit there and talk about these things that I have absolutely no control over, and that are removing the chances and opportunities for my visibility to be seen, to be recognized for who I am, and to be invited into opportunities, or to be invited to guide somebody, right? So don't get hooked up on things on Facebook specifically when it comes to all these other things, any kind of negative things. One of those negative things is, of course, is it legal to promote your business on Facebook, your personal profile. And here's what I'm going to say. You are promoting as in you're just speaking about your business. You're talking about it, right? You're not using Facebook data. You're not using Facebook, any of the Facebook features to create a transaction and take somebody's money. You're not using that. A conversation in Messenger doesn't count. It's still technically is just a chat. This is not where the transaction takes place. So you have to keep that in mind. And this is all this fear is really comes from ignorance. And if you think that, oh, but if I'm promoting myself, I'm going to put off some people who think it's illegal to, promote yourself on Facebook. Trust me, the correct people for you, whether they're interested in your business or not, they never judge you. Do you judge your friends? Like, are you sitting there and they do something and you're really judging them? Well, then you're a bad friend, right? Then you shouldn't be in their world and they shouldn't be in your world. So let's just take this empowered stance that if somebody doesn't appreciate what we're doing, because we're not doing it just, to attract attention to ourselves, right? We're not doing it for that reason. As coaches in our business, we're helping our clients overcome certain hurdles, get to the next level, maybe release some sort of insecurities, trauma. We are transforming their lives with our guidance. We're here to help others have better lives, be happier. So this is not a negativistic exercise. And if somebody sees it as such, they're not your people. They are not your people. So if you want to create this business and you want to use Facebook or any social media as your platform, right? You can't bother about what other people think. You cannot afford to bother. And that's very important. I just want to put it out there. Because it's wasting your time. It's just hijacking. It's robbing you. It's robbing your bank account. It's hijacking your lifetime. 2022, the world accelerated already. I don't know about you, but every day at about 6-7 o'clock, I'm saying, oh my God, where did the day go? Because life seems to be accelerating right now. So we don't have an opportunity to get that wasted time back. I'm gonna leave you at that. So one of the targets, let's talk about growth of the audience. There's two ways to attract clients. One is to grow a very big audience and continue growing audience. That means that you have to remove completely personal, any feelings about what you're doing, remove them, throw them out of the window, and spend 15 minutes sending people friend requests. You need to have a target audience criteria for this kind of exercise. And it's not always very simple to do, but I also have to say that overthinking it is also against your goal, right? So we just need a vague area. How do you determine, or where do you start? So for example, maybe you're completely new to this. So where do you start? If you have had any clients in the business that you are running, even if maybe you've been certified in an official program somewhere and you had a trial class, well, think about who these people were. What do they have in common? What do they have in common? Because you naturally will attract certain people. In fact, just look at your whole life, your best friends, not the ones that you went to school with and that's how you know each other, but people you attracted through some sort of interest. Like, what actually made you create this bond and create this friendship? Is it that you all both like food? Is it that you both like dogs? Is it that you both like running? You're runners, or maybe you are bikers, or maybe you you like, I don't know, you're into clothes and fashion and you really connect on that. And that's how, and then maybe they're very spiritual people, or maybe they're not spiritual at all, and so aren't you. So, you're connecting, you are attracting people no matter what you do. There's common things that in all of these people, there is something that is common. And I tell you, I attract people people who become my friends who are deeper, there is one common thing in these people. They're highly spiritual. And I'm not talking about religious, and I'm not talking about sort of ungrounded spirituality. I'm talking about the fact that these people believe beyond what's visible to the eye. Everyone. Yeah, we're in tune with our energy. We want to know what's behind that, and we're open-minded to see that could be something more, that some people will really think that this is crazy, what you're talking about is crazy. And I can't deal with people who feel or think like that. Another thing that I have in people that I'm attracting, everyone that I attract, is that they're accepting each other. There are people who agree to disagree. There are people that accept me, even though maybe in some ways I'm very different to them, and they don't judge me based on that, right? So we are kind of like agree to disagree, because not everyone is like that. Not everyone agrees to disagree, right? And so that's another quality that I see in everyone that I am attracting, and I feel like sometimes I'll attract a person and I can see how they get really, triggered by everything, and they like the sound of the voice, and, they just like enter these arguments and things like that. And you know what? They're not really my people. As friends, as soulmates, they're not really my people, because I find that this is just like unnecessary dragging into conflict. Now, why am I saying all these things? Because when you know what kind of people you're attracting, you can also go to very unlikely places to grow your audience with people who when you connect and when things will get closer, you will actually have a lot in common, completely outside your business. And that is the biggest key to actually having really great relationships with your clients, is when you have the worldview overlaps outside what you are doing. Because if you're going to, for example, if you are a nutrition coach and you're going to go into groups where people, testing different diets and or healthcare, there will be a lot of people who are already trying to sell something to these people, and so they will immediately put that label or put you in the box. Oh yeah, she or he is one of them. And so this is a really good way of thinking about, where can I get people? Because most of the time, we might be told, and maybe even at some stage I used to say to my clients, we need to really think about like who is looking for what you have to offer. But if you think about it from the social media point of view, and this is the conclusion that I've come through a lot of testing, a lot of trials, and a lot of failing. So the conclusion that I came to is that you cannot predict what people are seeking. You never know. And I've been so many times just surprised by who came into my world. And then there's another layer. There's where human design comes in. Maybe you have a line 4 in your profile, and so all the opportunities are actually going to come through your existing network. So you really need to think about, building that existing network and working through that. So thinking about what communities you're part of, that you're really like, buzzing with people, and get like introductions and do networking, so you can increase the chances for more opportunities to come into your life, right? Or maybe you have a line 1 or line 3 in your profile. If you have a line 3 in your profile, you will make bonds with people, but you will also break bonds as easily with people. So I can, for example, not talk to someone for 10 years, and it's not a big deal to me. I don't do it as a stance necessarily. And 10 years later, I meet, or even in my case, I met some people 20, 25 years later, and we just like nothing happened, just picked up where we left. Making bonds, breaking bonds, the line 3 character. And this what allows actual progress, because if you're always just staying within the same bond, you cannot grow, right? So that's where it's coming from. Maybe you're line 1 who attracts strangers. Maybe you're line 5 who also will be more for strangers. So people who know line 5 too close, they stop. They line 5 always lives in projections of others, but it's just likely that people who know you closer completely don't see your value and see whatever they want in you. You're like a tall karmic mirror. They just see what they want to see. And the strangers might project something, but it will be much more sort of like, oh yeah, you're an authority, you're a leader, and we will follow you, right? So 5 is very powerful for strangers line. And it's just knowing this as well. 6 as well as a visionary. And line 6 could be depending on what other lines there and depending what age line 6 is, right? If you're in your first trimester, you might be living the line 3 kind of life with testing and trying things. And so it depends, like you will probably meet a lot of wrong people. It depends where you are and what your human design profile is. And I don't want to go very deeply into this because, this is what we can discuss. And if you haven't ordered your marketing blueprint by design, please do, because, we can discuss these things individually there. But we will all have our own way of connecting to people. So if you want to, so what I'm saying here is that on social media, if you want to build a big audience, what you need to do is you need to continue sending friend requests. Some people find this really, really exhausting and very overwhelming and really, confusing. There's two reasons why. One is because they're overthinking and they're trying to predict. They're sending a friend request thinking, okay, can you be my client, or can you buy from me, or will I be able to satisfy what you want? And this is exactly why I said, like, remove any personal attitudes here, and you just literally send friend requests. So for example, if you can find groups that people with overlapping interests and connect to people there. You can choose to be active in the groups, and then connect to people first on the comments and then send them friend requests. It's up to you. You can even go into your discover people in Facebook. And again, still, you have to have that criteria. So your criteria could even be like some sort of, let's say, women 45 to 60. And that's your criteria, right? And then you can just go to their profiles and just feel how you feel in your gut. Do you feel pulled to it? Send a friend request. That's how I do it sometimes. The other way of growing your audience, so that's one of the ways, and you would need to, let me just, before I go to the second one, if you're following that kind of strategy, you need to start with maybe sending 10 friend requests a day for a few days, and then start building it up. So build it next day, do it 15. So maybe over a week, do 2 days 10, 3 days 15, and then 2 days 25, and then next week just do all 25 people a day, just friend requests, right? Not people who accept you. And then maybe a week later get it to 50. So what you're doing when you're doing that, you're actually building such a big pool of people who you're connecting. And when you choose who you are connecting, then Facebook will start analyzing that, and even people who are shown to you, like discover people, will start fitting that profile. After a while, though, you do need a few weeks of consistently sending friend requests for that to happen. I'm not saying that Facebook is going to, feed you your potential clients. That's not going to happen. Let's just be very, very realistic, use common sense and just real, proper, normal, not delusional approach, right? This can really work. This works for so many people. This works for a lot of manifesting generators. This works, but not for everyone. So for those who this kind of feels really horrible, really exhausting, and maybe you're like me, maybe you just feel very unsafe around people you don't know, then there is a second way that I've discovered, and this is what I am practicing these days a little bit more. So the second way is to really focus on your positioning as a thought leader and an authority, and use publicity. What I mean by that is that it's constantly creating content, and as often as it's possible for you at your pace, publishing your content on external publications, becoming guest on podcast, having your own podcast that other guests will share and people will find it, optimizing everything. So really, really nailing your keywords, search engine optimizations basics, not the whole, it's a very, very big area, right? We don't need to know everything about it. All we need to know is how to optimize, like understand the keywords, the catchy titles, like learn and master that and use that part in your marketing. So you're then building this content for people who are seeking not necessarily on Facebook, but outside Facebook. On Facebook as well, you can still use the same content, and you can, share your posts, and you can just create, like, the articles that you write, you can create a post. I actually often write a post on Facebook, and that turns into an article. Then I can do a few tweaks. Sometimes I sit down and just write an article. It depends. There's no wrong or right. It depends on your creativity and, how you're going to take action, right? Taking inspired action is so important. But this is then what this strategy does is allows me then to pull in people who have already consumed my content and come to me already a little bit more warm as leads, right? So they're not cold traffic. What you're doing when you're sending loads of friend requests on Facebook is that you're building your cold audience. You could achieve the same thing with ads, but I really, really highly recommend not to even go near the ads before your business is not established in a way that you know how exactly you're attracting clients to a particular offer. So for example, your funnel, maybe there's a specific masterclass, and every time you're promoting this masterclass, people join, and after that masterclass, there's a really good conversion rate, and you're happy with your results that you're getting clients from this masterclass. And then you also know who is signing up. You will have this some sort of like an idea profile, specific age of people, specific what they're into. Then you can turn into ads, use this intelligence that you've gathered with your own experience, right? Not that some expert told you what to do. You already lived this through. You already experienced this in your own business. No expert, there's no expert in the world, no one else out there can come to your business and say, Juliette, here's what you need. They can't, because if they work with you for a year, maybe, if they're actually working with you literally in your business and tweaking everything and working there on board, yes. But if they're just coming in and they're saying, for you, this is what you do with ads, I'm talking about ads here, they just can't. They can't. I've hired several advertising companies before, and we failed. We failed not because of them. We failed because of me, because I wasn't ready at that stage to scale my business. And ads only help you to scale when you already have that intelligence. You know who you attract and how you convert them into clients. So here, what we're doing is we're using organic approach, which is free, not paid, non-paid, organic Facebook marketing. And we're doing pretty much the same thing when we're sending friend requests, and we're growing this audience. And then these cold audience, complete strangers, get a chance to look at our content. And that's why content is always going to be important, whatever you do, right? But they're going to look at our content. They're going to come to our profile, check out first impression, right? That's why it's very important to optimize your profile. And then through your content, then some people will start, watching you, maybe lurking around and watching you and seeing what you're doing is of interest to them. Eventually they'll go through their cycle. And another statistics that I always talk about, and I'm going to mention it again, half of the audience will never buy. They're just not people who are interested in what you're doing. So half of the audience doesn't buy. Out of the other half, they don't buy, but there might be people who are really into you, which is great. We call them like our unicorns, our ambassadors, and they can spread the word, right? So they're people who may not need you, but they love you and respect you so much, and your content really speaks to them, but just not as clients, right? So they exist below that we're gonna buy from you line. Half of your audience, roughly 97% of the other half, roughly, could be even 99%, are not ready to buy from you right now. So when you're sending a friend request, trying to think about who is going to buy from you is really silly, stupid to think, right? And we're intelligent people, so we're going to use common sense and say, no, of course, like, this is not realistic. It's not, no way. There is this 1 to 3% of the half of your audience that has a potential to buy. And these are people who are either very, very strongly intuitive, that they just know, and I attract a lot of people who are like that. They've seen me, maybe they've watched a few minutes of my videos there, and they'd be like, I know in my gut, this is the woman I want to work with. You know, I am like that too. I can be like that too. But there is a combination. So what they're saying, or what I've seen, or what I've read from this person, need to really speak exactly to my problem and with a lot of authority. So I straight away go through this know, like, and trust immediately, this cycle, right? And I'm ready. But people like that are there's a very small amount of people who are like that. So we can't rely on that. We should always focus on the 97% that are not ready, because these ones, the 1 to 3% that are ready, and some of these people in the not ready section, they're just moving with our content. We're moving them constantly into this 1 to 3% while adding more people, right? We're adding more people. Some of them are not going to buy. Maybe they will be our in your course, and some might buy sometime, and like a tiny percentage of that are ready to buy now. This is important to understand this about how it works, right? In terms of growing your audience and attracting clients. So then you're not going to be sending friend requests and then getting really upset that nobody's reaching out to you yet. You know, you're getting impatient, but you're only getting impatient because you don't understand what exactly you're doing, because you don't actually have the bird's eye view of what is the process, what are the chances, what is like the statistics here, and then you're focusing on the lack, right, instead of focusing on nurturing these people who have a potential to buy. And at any point, any one of them can move into that ready to buy percentage. So you have to continue feeding this, you know, your content to them. However, and this is not a training about content, we can use repurposing techniques and various softwares to repurpose the content that's already been written. So it's not like you have to constantly write new stuff or go live with new stuff for these people, right? So that's working smart, but still understanding this, what we're doing about with friend requests, sending friend requests. And it's not that it's exhausting and things like that. That's just for me. I know people who absolutely swear by this strategy, and they love doing it. And this is what attracts clients to them, and a lot of them, you know. So my approach with the publicity is much less people come into my world, comparing, you know, on a daily basis, comparing to the big amount of people. Like if you send 50 friend requests every day, even if you started maxing up and coming up to 50 to 5,000 people, right, you can also remove some of the people. You can, you know, look at birthdays every day for 2 minutes and say, okay, I don't know this person, I've been with them friends for 2 years, and obviously nothing happened now. So okay, you know, you can see these things from Facebook. Sometimes if you click on a person's name and then you click on their on message, like send a message, and you can see if you ever spoken, when you connected. So you will never max out the 5,000 friends, because it's not the point of building so many friends. The point is to bring fresh people in and then release people who are kind of dead weight, and they, you know, they're sitting in that never gonna buy and not relevant, right? They probably don't even follow you and, you know, don't see you. On this note, if you're ever looking at any kind of third-party tools, like extensions that say to you, we will remove inactive friends, please be aware that these are very inaccurate tools. They only make you believe that they're accurate. And I actually have once used a tool like that, and it removed it removed people who were active, because my client, the closest client I worked with, all of a sudden said to me, why did you unfriend me? And I, you know, that's what happened. So these tools they're feeding into us not wanting to do the job, right? To do these tasks that we don't want to do. And we want to use them because they're very successfully marketing to our pain point. So keep that in mind. Marketing is a powerful thing, but you have to be savvy and also understand that this is constantly done to you, right? So with my case, which is a different way of approaching it, I'm working with content attraction marketing, and I'm using publicity. So people who come into my world, they saw me somewhere and they already got triggered. Not everyone goes straight into working with me. There are people who just join, you know, they join maybe on my website. There's several ways for them to join my list. One is just to join my e-club, my mailing list. I'm not even that consistent as I probably should be, but I don't like being bombarded with emails. And I kind of feel like if I don't have anything to say, then what's the point, right? I also have several different freebies on my website. And what I do is that when they sign into the freebie, I send them the freebie, but I also say to them, okay, you are now part of my email list. I just want you to hit reply and say, I am in. So I know that you're in. But I'm also doing this so their mailing software or whatever the provider they're using kind of thinks that they replied to me, so I am not a spammer. So they're not going to put my emails into spam folder, which can happen when you're sending newsletters. There's nothing you can do about it. It's not you, it's them, right? It's the service providers, and like Gmail has a crazy anti-spam filters things that are completely not spam. So this is what I do. I kind of create this connection. And my next step is also, let's be friends on Facebook. This is my call to action. Say, Juliette, where can you find you? And I say, well, join me, go to my website, but also send me a friend request on Facebook. Then my Facebook audience is growing from the people who find me elsewhere. And a lot of them are kind of warm leads. They're not complete strangers. So if you don't know what cold, warm, hot is, cold completely don't know you, warm somehow already know you and maybe have some interest in what you're saying, right? Hot leads are people who are very interested in what you have to say, and they're kind of now considering whether you are the person to hire, whether they are prepared to hire as well. But they could be, they're already excited. That's the hot lead. That's someone almost ready to buy. So that's the two ways of growing your audience. And as I said, I just want to stress it so much. I built my audience initially with the first strategy, was sending people friend requests. And the fact that my business didn't grow in terms of revenue immediately was nothing to do with the fact that this audience growth strategy didn't work. It was to do with me not having the clear path of what actually I'm selling. What am I actually doing here? So when you have your program, you know what you're doing, and you start figuring out how to send people to, to talk about this program. So those are all the things that we have to figure out. And these are the things that then will give you fast track for the new people who are coming into your world, whether it's a strategy number one when you're sending friend requests, or strategy number two when you're really, really pushing your content out there and optimizing everything so they can discover you in Google. This will not necessarily work if you have a personal brand and it's like a really, really super personal brand, because people don't search for personal brands, right? So it will more work if you have something to sell, like a program that solves a problem, right? So that's why this is something that I've been experiencing recently, and I'm experimenting more recently. However, for the first 4 years of my business, the strategy number one was the only strategy I used, and it absolutely does work, especially if you, as I said, if you have the program and if you have things figured out, it's going to work. So what you need is you need to constantly add fresh people into your audience. And I think that instead of throwing away money on ads that really, first of all, also, I don't trust ads for one big reason. And I ran ads. Here's the truth. There's a client I have who I run ads for. It's an e-commerce store, right? And what I see in those ads is shocking. No matter that we have the targeting, no matter that we, selected the country that they're in, I still see so many people from Middle East, Asia, and other destinations that are not part of what we've selected for Facebook and what we think we're paying Facebook money to show people our content there. We see all these dodgy people from cheap countries for Facebook to, get engagement or get likes from, and all these kind of things. So I don't trust Facebook. And I don't think that in terms of advertising, that they're actually giving you 100% quality service there. There you go. So when you're doing it manually, you can spend 5 minutes a day sending 50 requests. It's easy. If you're not overthinking it, not maybe 5 minutes for 50 requests, maybe, but you don't have to do it all in one go as well. You can send 5 friend requests, the next hour or two, send another 10 friend requests. You don't have to do it all in one go, but it will still be more, you will still be more in control who you are connecting, where they're based, what age they are. Then you would throw money away to and give it to Facebook and their dodgy, not transparent ways of bringing audience to you. right? So that's why I'm such a big ambassador for organic marketing still. You know, I can spend this time because I know that at the end of the day, we all have time. It's just that we don't make time for things that matter. And that's all. So 2 strategies for you: either sending friend requests every day and build it up so you have like 50 people, not more than that, even 30 you can send, as long as you're doing it every day. It's really important that you're freshening up your audience, right? Or you focus on publicity, although publicity is good in case number 1 because it also builds your authority, brand authority, and you're focusing on content all the time either way. But that's another way of growing. The audience is going to grow smaller. And I think that in the beginning, if you only started, you need to go with strategy number 1. Meanwhile, figure things out and figure out what your topics are, and then start using the publicity and everything, but really still continue sending friend requests so you can have this audience. Just before I let you go again, don't overthink. Don't overthink. You cannot make anybody's mind to work with you or what do they want. It's only a number. Before they engaged properly with you and like reached out or raised their hand in some way, said, this is interesting, you know, I want to know more, they are still kind of just a number. So let's have business hats on here now. And that's what we're doing here. We're just continuing to grow our audience for our businesses. Okay, I hope that and if you have any questions, post them below because I'm really, really happy to discuss further. I'm sure there's going to be more questions.